talking about the new movie, The Woman King, starring Viola Davis. I know you've been hearing about it. Maybe you've seen at least the trailer. And I'm going to say right now, run out and see it. So I'm not going to give any spoilers here, but I'm going to say bring your tissues for the beauty and for the pain, the losses that, are bound to happen in a story that's about, basically being a warrior, right? And fighting off an enemy. And so I'm talking about it here on this channel because, of course, we're getting a slice of life from Africa, right? And pre-colonial African civilization. And, I always say that most people, because of Eurocentric Western civilization, have zero knowledge about pre-colonial African civilizations. And so it is a presentation, it's a slice of life, right, of the Dahomey Kingdom. And Viola Davis plays a general leading the Ajay, I think it's Ajay, if I get the right pronunciation, the Ajay, right, a whole unit of women warriors, and she is the head of that. And so it's a great film. I mean, Viola is always going to bring it, and she does, but there's a whole cast of, the young woman who plays the primary, kind of coming of age story for her. She's excellent. Excellent. I kept thinking the whole way through, wow, who is this young woman? She is doing a phenomenal job, especially standing up there next to Viola Davis, right? Like, that's just not easy as an actor. Okay, so anyway, what we're looking at is, an African civilization. There's a king, and there's a whole kingdom, right? And we're watching these women go through their process of how they become warriors, and of course, there's backstory and things. And yes, there's some African religion in it. There is some, references to Ogun, the African Orisha or a deity, if we want to say. At the very, very end, I will say again, I said I'm not going to give any spoilers, but I will say don't jump up when the credits start rolling. You know how some movies at the end, if you stay through the credits, you see something else. So I will say there is a little bit of a tidbit of something, and it has the religion part in it, the African spirituality in it. And so I'm glad somebody said to me as I was leaving, my friends and I were leaving, and they were like, "Oh no, don't y'all leave yet. There's something else." And so there was, and anyway, I'm gonna, recommend that. The other thing about it is, I'm just expecting the critique, right? Like it's just, we live in a society now where it's like people just wait for an opportunity to criticize something, to tear it down, to talk about how something is a scam or something is not right. And it's just like people wait at their keyboards for the opportunity to slam something. So I'm waiting for, the Hotep people, right? The men in the Hotep kind of communities, or, men who always have a problem with representations of Black women doing something, right? I'm already knowing that they're going to start saying why the men represented, how the men are represented. Look, let me tell you something. This movie is really not about the men. And if you cannot handle that, if your ego is such that you cannot handle that this movie highlights women in leadership, don't go. Just don't go. Don't get yourself irritated. And I hope none of y'all are, don't be on my channel, criticizing a movie that shows women in leadership. The very title is The Woman King. So it is about women in leadership. It is about a female battalion of warriors. And yes, we have had that historically. So if you're mad, you're just mad at history. You're just railing against history for the sake of, some men, they just want to rail against something that has all women in it, as if men have to always be the centerpiece. And that's just not the case. Sometimes it's us. Sometimes we're telling a story about ourselves. Is that allowed? Because you end up sounding like white people who will say, well, if this movie isn't, this movie has all black people in it, so where white people in it? Well, it's not realistic if it doesn't have white people in it. White people wanting to center themselves all the time, right? So there's some men who feel like they should be centered all the time, and so when they see something, especially with black women highlighted, I guess their feelings are hurt. Anyway, I saw one post on Facebook where somebody said something like, "See, women don't know their place. They were misled by Satan in the Garden of Eden, and so now they're always trying to, steal a man's place, right? Like it should be called the I guess, woman queen. I guess it should be about a woman who becomes queen, but this is actually Viola plays a general, right? And so there is a king, there is a male in charge, right? He is a king, but I'm just saying, can we have something beautiful? It is kind of like Wakanda adjacent, I'll say, Black Panther adjacent, in the sense that we're looking at a beautiful African civilization and beautiful people. Can we have that? Now, the other criticism that I've been hearing is that somehow or another slavery is glorified, and I don't get that at all. I'd be curious when y'all see it, what y'all. I mean, I don't know how anybody can say it's glorified, because the very fact of these battles, they're fighting against the encroachment of slavery. But it is true, obviously, that some African powers were involved in selling African people into the slave trade. And so, yes, that is represented. And some people are mad. As again, argue with history. What are you arguing about? The movie should not show that. Like, as you can tell, I get very passionate right now because people are on my nerves. Like, oh, well, I don't want to have to see that. Well, then don't go. Okay, don't go. But what we're looking at is a slice of history that obviously went bad for African people. But the Ajay, right, these female warriors, the whole movie is about them fighting it back, right, and trying to advise the king, right? She's trying to advise the king on how to, do better, how to, navigate the coming of the Europeans, and with the spirituality thrown in there. And so her character, Viola's character, is kind of a skeptic, which is interesting. She's kind of a religious skeptic because she's got somebody else, like her, I guess what we call her second in command, maybe her top lieutenant, who's, the one kind of reminding her of the spiritual practices. And she's like, oh, that's like, whatever, you're going to throw some nuts down or whatever. And so, that is part of the practice of Ifa, in terms of divination. And so it's kind of comical how she's like, really, that's what we're going to do right now? We need to take these swords and go out here and slice off some heads. So anyway, I want to come on and, give my snippet about what the Woman King is. And I'm going to say it is wonderful. And it is intense, because I don't really like prolonged battle scenes with sword. I don't really like that. But of course, I wanted to support this movie, and I must say, it's much better than I even thought it was going to be because of the development of the storyline. And I really, as I was watching it, I said, this must be directed by a woman, because there's nuances in the film and in the script. And I was like, it's got a female director, I'm pretty sure, and yes, it does. And so I'll throw this in too, because I've been on here talking about my coaching program, my VIP coaching program, diamond level coaching for Black women at midlife. And so as I look at this film, it does obviously glorify very strong women and women handling their business. And in my coaching business, I'm really trying to encourage Black women to set aside that strong Black woman stereotype, or at least to balance it. Because we have the stereotype of being the strong Black woman, right? And so we need balance as Black women, especially in midlife. We need balance. We've been working hard and pushing and pushing and pushing for our whole lives, really. And now we're 40, 50, early 60s, and we're like, we're tired, we're not doing it anymore. So I do, in my coaching practice, say to Black women, hey, we're trying to at least balance, if not retire, balance it out or retire the strong Black woman. But like I said in the film, there are nuances. There is some, recognition that these women are, they're human beings. They're not just warriors. They're not, robots. There's no, what I also appreciate, there's no gratuitous sex scenes in it, like, just thrown in there for the sake of whatever, entertainment or whatever. And so, yes, I have wonderful things to say about it, but as I was starting to say, it is intense. And so I wouldn't really take young children to it because the battle scenes are really intense. Um, yeah, and I don't really care for that myself. When I'm at home watching something that's kind of intense, I can just fast forward, and I do, like Game of Thrones and House of Dragons now, I fast forward through the bloodshed. I don't need to see all that. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up, and I will look forward to hearing your comments. Have you seen The Woman King? When are you going to go see The Woman King? What did you think? Share with me. Also, right now, if you are interested in the group coaching program, Diamond Level Coaching for Black Women at Midlife, then now is the time. Between now and September 23rd is really the time because of special pricing and all of that. So you want to be part of my free Facebook group, put in the comments, I want to get into the group, I want to talk to you about coaching, that kind of thing. Otherwise, that's it. Bye for now.